I don't like that. That's not fun. Blah. Blah. Hopefully, Oh, that is pretty gross. Hello and welcome back to Zach Does It. I'm Zach and today we are going to be cleaning plastic. Now the Miata has a lot of plastic on it. From the taillight housing to trim pieces like the rest for your foot when you're not using the clutch. There are other parts, like this massive unit where the heat exchanger is, that looks kind of gross, to be honest. Looking on the inside, some of this foam and other material is definitely aged, and it's falling apart in a lot of cases. So, as best we can, we're going to be careful disassembling some more complex parts like this, but we're going to be careful cleaning them out. Other parts like this felt or foam padding may be salvageable, but if it isn't, we'll just go to the store and get some more so that we can replace it as we go. Once we're done with that, once we're done with all the plastic pieces, we'll have a much better idea of what parts are completely salvageable. For example, these trim pieces that go in the rear wheel well to help prevent rust on the exposed metal. These are pretty good. They really just need to be cleaned and rinsed off and put back in. But there's other pieces like the shroud. Let me get that real quick. I didn't bring it down, did I? But then again, there are pieces like the shroud that just shattered into a million pieces. Those were actually broken. Same thing with the dash. They were broken before I took them out of the car, fortunately, and I was planning on replacing them, although I wish I would have kept them in one piece in the process so I could replace them later instead of now. But unfortunately, sometimes you break things when you're taking them apart, and this is no exception. I'll, at a minimum, be getting a new shroud for the instrument panel and a new piece of the dash that goes along the front near where the windshield is. So with that out of the way, let's dive in. Let's get to cleaning. This may be the most intimidating piece to handle, but we're going to be looking at a few different techniques that I've learned from, there's a spider, a few different techniques that I've learned from restoration and repair channels. You know, if you're going to learn something, why not go to YouTube? So we're going to disassemble this slowly, but you may notice that we'll be using a brush like this, and then obviously some rags. We've got a plastic tool here, so if we need to get in some nooks and crannies, especially putting the rag on the tip, that can really help get into some places where maybe your finger doesn't fit. Let's start slowly taking this apart. And we're actually going to clean it from the outside in. So, number one, let's just get rid of all these cobwebs. This is like 30 years of gunk just built up. It's so gross. That in our waste bucket. One thing to be aware of is that there's coolant in these copper tubes, or in newer Miatas if you've got the aluminum ones, even better. But there is coolant inside of this, so if you turn it upside down, you'll make a mess. So be aware. Ooh, that is not what I wanted to see. I was really hoping that this hadn't started corroding. But obviously it is, so we'll see how bad it is. We'll see if it's something that we can clean off, or if it's something where we might want to consider doing that NB swap with the aluminum heater core. Oh, oh, that is pretty gross. Yep. Oh man. Well, it's not as bad as I was expecting. I think the foam is worse for wear, but as far as I can tell, most of the corrosion, it's only on the surface. It doesn't look like it's too bad. So we'll take a gentle wire brush that we've got here. We'll take that along with some degreaser and cleaner to try to get rid of some of that corrosion. But let's keep going. And you'll notice I have two buckets here. One bucket is obviously the water that I use to rinse my rag, and the other bucket has all of my soap and stuff in it. So both will end up dirty, but the goal is to get as much dirt as you can into the dirty water bucket so that your clean water bucket is still effective when you're done cleaning. The great debate is how far to disassemble some of these pieces, because I can't get all the gunk out if I don't disassemble this one, because there's some like real gross stuff in here. But then again, if I disassemble it, I've got to make sure I remember how to put all that stuff together. And you see, this is one of those spots I was talking about. Deep inside of here, let's get that out of the way. Deep inside of here, I really can't reach, but if I get one of these tools, or even you can do it with maybe like a flathead or Phillips head screwdriver, I can get in here and just kind of scrape a little bit. And then the rag protects it so it doesn't get all scratched up. But it lets you get into those corners, oh, so nicely. And even if it slips off, that's okay. It's all plastic. You're not going to see most of this. So we're really just doing this to get the dust and the peace of mind, knowing that there's no mold in here, there's no problems, nothing's broken. We're not breathing in dusty air from 1991. So this is actually really cool. In case you didn't know how some of the controls work, if I remember right, this is the selector for... Oh, hello there. I'm sorry for interrupting, but while I have you, future Zach is here to rescue past Zach from making himself look like a fool. Well, actually, I'm gonna let that play out, but I'm here to help prevent him from misleading you and being factually incorrect. Now, I've got the benefit of days being invested into this and knowing the mistakes that I've made, so I will try to correct his wrongs. I'll let you enjoy his misery with some graphic overlays to help smooth out any confusion or otherwise misleading answers I might be giving for what some of these parts do. Anyways, we'll give it back. Bye-bye now. Circulating the air or not. So it's really cool. It's simple valve and a simple flap. And whether you want to keep all the air from inside the car, or if you want to suck in some fresh air, the option is yours. At least I'm pretty sure. This very well could be well, what could this be? I don't even remember when I took everything off. Let's see, on this side, let's see, what does this adjust? This is better angle. On this side, we've got the actuator for which vent the air is eventually going to come out. So you can see so many different pieces moving as you just articulate through the different positions. And then, like I said earlier, I think I was correct, this is that piece that will then selectively either go from the outside air or the inside air, so you can circulate or get something fresh. And this is probably actually a good time to use a razor. Once we've gotten that started, you can just kind of scrape along and pull this up as you need, instead of tearing all this foam in the process. So I guess if you did want to reuse it, you know, if you were careful enough, you might be able to get away with that. But like I said, we're going to replace this anyways, so. That's awesome. I was worried, so worried, I was going to have to reassemble or disassemble the outside just to get in here and clean. But thankfully it looks like I don't, so keep the housing and all the external components attached the way they are. But again, look, oh my goodness, I touched the foam and it crumbles. I don't know if you can see that, but it almost would keep my fingerprints if I didn't have gloves on. And in fact, this one is fully deteriorated. So these metal pieces, they're metal, they look metal. These metal turntable bits should be fine. We shouldn't have to replace those. We just need to get more foam. This is also an excellent opportunity to start taking pictures. For me, most of it's just making sure I know the right thickness of the foam. I would imagine there's some clearances in here that I need to be wary of. Otherwise, the foam will impact the operation of the controls. So I'm just gonna take some pictures. I know roughly this is about 1/4 inch thick, but just in case, I do have a micrometer or a tape measure. You could use that if you need, but I wanna make sure that I get foam that's the right thickness for this. And we'll do the same for that foam that was used to seal around all the vent holes. So that's what we're gonna do real quick. Oh, that's where the smell is. It's definitely that foam. Yep. That's the smell. That's my grandmother's closet. Okay, so next step, because we know we're going to be doing some stuff with the foam on these, we might as well take them out. It'll make our life a little bit easier to clean this all, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, on second thought, we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to wipe this down to the best of our abilities. And for this piece, we've got this beautiful trim tool, and it should be able to take a lot of this with one fell swoop. Although I'm seeing some pieces jutting out that are going to make this a little difficult. Oh, that's just so satisfying when it comes off in a sheet like that. Now, if only these pegs weren't in the way so I could actually do it in one piece. Get it off. I don't know if you watch Rick taking videos, but doing it too much is It turns out that there's two different foams here. I used a micrometer to measure one of them. It was 0.2 of an inch thick. Some of the other foam that went around the outside was about 1/2 inch thick. And then there's actually this third type that feels a lot stiffer and it's a lot flatter. From the looks of it, it actually is intended to be that way. So I am removing this softer, more degraded stuff, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave this denser padding on. Folks, use a different brush, a different shape and a different handle so we can get into the lower part. And this one's actually stiff enough to pull it off, so it looks like we will be removing all of this foam instead. Oh, now I just got to figure out what kind of foam this is. Probably want to clean up just a little bit so we can stay. I can't believe I'm doing this 2 episodes in a row. Future Zach is back and I have a message. ADD is a hell of a drug. I just finished watching the end of my last episode, and in it I said I would be detailing the engine bay and cleaning up all the dirt and grease in there. And I did. I promise I did. I have that footage. But what you just finished watching was my disassembly of the heater core housing and a bunch of plastic. That was my mistake. I didn't pay enough attention back then. But going forward, I've got a new commitment. So instead of telling you what I'm going to do in the next episode, because I'm not good at figuring that one out, I am instead going to commit to new episodes every Thursday before noon Eastern Standard Time. That's my commitment, and maybe in the future I'll be better and I will be able to more accurately predict what will happen in the next episode. But for now, if you enjoyed this kerfuffle that I got myself into, leave a like, give it a thumbs up. If you are struggling with a project of your own, if you have a project of your own, share it below. I'd love to hear what's going on in your life. And lastly, if you want to know exactly when each episode launches, or maybe you're not in Eastern Standard Time, should we just get rid of time zones? Anyways, if you want to know when each episode comes out, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. You'll know exactly when they release. Other than that, this has been another episode of Zach Does It, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.